Charter Revision Commission meeting will come to order. Okay,
we'll begin with a roll call then. And Commission Member Politis?
yes?
Timian?
Yes.
Annenson?
Yes.
Gregerson?
Here.
Knudsen? Okay.
Approval of the minutes next on the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from November 14th? Can I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Wasn't here. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, is there any public input at this time?
Good afternoon, Commission. Councilor Aguilar actually would like to talk to this group regarding an amendment that she has. She has not arrived yet. If you'd like, I could also present that, but I was actually hoping to give a few more minutes for Sue's arrival.
Okay, or we can move that to, we can take care of the old business and then move it to after that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the first, is there any other public input? Okay, under old business, Charter Section 2.02, terms of elected office of City Council members. Dave, do you want?
Madam Chair, thank you. Included in the materials on SIRE and also at the table here for the public is a draft of an official ballot. And if I can, I'll just cover A and B under there together. This is just certainly a draft at this point, and we had discussed it last time. And I did change the wording based on Commissioner Knudsen's suggestion regarding changing the word "in" to "during" the third week of May. Amendment A regards the City Council term of office, and it just provides the same language as last time, where that term of office for City Council members wouldn't start until that third week of May following an April municipal election. And this would again just provide flexibility for which day of the week the council happens to be meeting, so that they could do the swearing in the same day. It just provides a little flexibility in scheduling. With the ballot, there's an attorney explanation on it, and just pretty straightforward in terms of the flexibility. Then Amendment B is the same exact construct for the terms of office for the mayor. It would likewise begin that third week of May during whichever day of that week following an April election that the City Council happens to be meeting. And again, for a reminder, the council sets the actual meeting day of that week by ordinance, and right now it's Tuesdays, but just to be flexible, we had talked before about keeping it in charter more flexible rather than having it a specific day of the week of that week. So, and the explanation on the attorney explanation is also similar to the council one. So, do you have any questions?
Two questions. One is, when it says third week, so when a week starts on a Friday, or is it the third? Is it the third week in which there is a meeting scheduled?
Third week in which there would be a meeting. So yes,
that would be that's the way everyone would construct that there'd be the third week to be. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other item is that, and I wasn't here last time, so my apologies if this is old turf again, but on A and B, with it being two amendments instead of being one?
Technically, it's two different amendments because you're amending. We can just amend one section with each amendment.
Okay,
itself.
we
can't combine them, into one.
Okay, because then we could end up with a difficulty where one passes and one doesn't. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, any comments on these amendments?
Rex Rolfing, City Council. I don't have a problem with any of this, but I'm a what-if person, as Dave knows, and I kind of read the same thing into the reason for you putting in the word, what was it, during the week. If you read the amendment itself, it could be construed, if somebody wanted to get real technical about it, let me just read the first sentence to you where I think there might be a problem. The terms of city council, terms of council members shall be 4 years, beginning no later than whichever day the city council regularly meets during the 3rd week of May. Now, if I was a stickler and somebody said there's a snow, the 3rd Monday or 3rd Tuesday, which is the regular meeting date set by ordinance, and there was a snowstorm or something happened during that time and we couldn't do it on Tuesday, we may have a problem. And so what I would suggest is that we take out the word regularly. So it would read, the terms of council members shall be 4 years beginning no later than whichever day the city council meets during. That would give us the whole week to choose a date rather than just potentially just on Tuesday or Monday if it's changed or whatever. I think that makes a little more sense. At least when I read it, that's one of the things that I read into it, that somebody could, you never know what kind of circumstances could come up that people would choose to postpone something and maybe never get installed. Thank you.
Any,
Okay, but is that when their term begins, or do they have to be installed on that day? Looking for legal advice on that one.
Both, yeah. All three of us are going both.
But
right.
If there was a snowstorm and their meeting was canceled, would their term still start?
No.
So they'd have to wait till the
So
next.
if whatever day we would have the 3rd meeting of that month is essentially what this is designed to do. I would view it, Councilor Rolfing's comments, as a friendly amendment. I mean, that's fine if you want to give us a little more wiggle room and flexibility in case there is a snow day or something. But I would hope by the 3rd week of May we don't have that.
I hope we don't get to 20 below again either.
I remember, I grew up here in Sioux Falls. I remember the end of April, we had 7 inches of snow one time on April 29th. So you never know.
any comments? Any other comments?
I agree with Rex that it makes sense to take out regular, so.
On both.
On both, yep, we can do that.
Both, do I need a motion on that?
Madam Chair, I'll move to make a motion to amend, to take out regular.
Give me a second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. So we will remove the term, the word regularly.
Then with that,
Madam Chair, that would be for A and B.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. Okay, now we'll need to do a,
You need the supermajority vote now if you want
We
to
can do
actually
that
put
now.
this on the ballot. And again, for public benefit, we need 4 of you to vote affirmatively to place anything on the ballot. I think we've had this under discussion a few of our meetings now. I think you've taken public input on it a few times and had a lot of internal input as well. But again, your policies require at least 4 of you voting affirmatively to place this on as a ballot proposal.
I would move that the 2 be placed in the, we put it in the process to place it on the ballot.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
And that was a 4-0 vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and now we can go on to the amendment proposed by Councilor Aguilar.
She may actually be here, so. Good afternoon again, Jim David, City Council staff. I'll just start this until Councilor Aguilar does arrive. This amendment to the city charter does two things. The first of all, in order to give advise and consent for a city attorney or to remove a city attorney, it would require a majority of 8 members, not just those members present. I see that Sue has arrived, so I'm going to defer to her. So thank you.
I apologize to the commission. I had that the meeting started at 4, so I thought I was going to be early. Commission Chair Politis and commission members, I come before you today with a proposed amendment to the charter pertaining to section 4-03, legal officer. I think that each of you have a copy of the amendment before you. I have been before the Commission in the past on this issue and hope that you will look favorably on this amendment. The amendment is drafted using the policy in Lincoln, Nebraska as its model. What I hope the amendment will accomplish is to ensure the independence and the integrity of the City Attorney's Office by providing that not only will a City Attorney be appointed with the advice and consent of the City Council, but also that he or she cannot be removed during a mayor's 4-year tenure of office without a majority vote of the 8 members of the council. Excuse me, I'm still trying to catch my breath. My reasoning for this change is that the charter specifically states that the legal officer, or as we know him, the city attorney, serves as the chief legal advisor not only to the administration but also to the city council. Point in fact, if you look at section 4.03, you will see that the city council is listed first as to who the individual serves. Upon taking office in 2010, I was apprised of past controversies where the city attorney was put in a position that made it almost impossible for the individual to take the side of the council in a matter a mayor may disagree with. The solution was that the council put money in their budget to procure outside counsel. If the city council was to hire outside counsel, I feel that this would send a message of no confidence in the city attorney. The dollars have never been accessed for such an action, but it has been discussed in the past. This amendment was researched and written with the assistance of Assistant City Attorney Gail Eastland and Council Legislative Operations Manager Jim David. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, as I'm sure that Jim or Gail would.
Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, I'm going to recuse myself. And as Councilor Aguilar has stated, one of our civil service attorneys has been assisting her regarding this matter, and I have not had any personal involvement, and I'm going to continue without any personal involvement. So thank you.
Sue, wonder if the mayor hires, say, a temporary city attorney for 1 year. I'll repeat it. Wonder if the mayor hires a city attorney for 1 year. Would that, and then he resigns at the end of 1 year.
Then I believe they would go through the same process where he would need to have the advice and consent for the new city attorney.
Well,
When it's my understanding, I don't see anything in charter, and I'm not familiar with anything in ordinance that there would be any difference in the process. I would guess that if someone, the mayor could appoint an acting, I would guess. Gail?
I have to say I've never really previously thought out that scenario, Mr. Gregerson, but the way that Section 403 currently reads, and as it reads under the amendment, I think the mayor would have to appoint the city attorney and the council would weigh in with its advice and consent. I don't think there's a provision under the charter for some sort of temporary appointment of the city attorney without going through the council for their advice and consent. I think the charter sets out the way it needs to be done, and the advice and consent of the council is required, is how I would read it.
Another question. Would that apply, though, if the city attorney wants to quit? Say, wonder if I'm a mayor, I appoint the city attorney, and I said, now look, I'm appointing you. But if I don't like the way things are going, if I ask for your resignation, I want it now.
Well, I think that would, in substance, be a removal by the mayor and would still require the majority of council approval.
Well, wonder if you don't get it, does the city attorney have to stay on the job, even though he wants to quit?
Well, if he chooses to quit on his or her own initiative, then I don't see that that requires council approval, no. No, certainly if I'm appointed city attorney and into a year or two into the job, I'm not satisfied with it and I want to resign and it's my own initiative, truly, then no, I would not see that needing council approval.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Again, I apologize for my delay, and thank you for hearing me out.
Is there any public input on this proposed amendment?
Hi, Rex Rolfing again. I would like to speak in favor of this amendment. I know there's times that attorneys, city attorneys, as we know, work for both of us, both the city council and the mayor, and it can be a touchy situation. Right now, there is no problem whatsoever. But I think this addresses a potential problem. As I said, I'm a what-if person. And obviously, there have been times that has come into play in the Omaha situation, or else they wouldn't have this kind of an amendment or this kind of a clause in their city charter. To have the, I don't know, protection, if you will, of the city attorney, knowing that if he's working for us, that the mayor can't really fire him if he doesn't like him, doing what the city council wants, and vice versa, because in those tents it basically amounts to the same thing. And so I think it gives some equity to both, and allows the city attorney to do his or her job better without the pressures from both sides. That's my opinion. I think it's a reasonable one, and I think this is a reasonable amendment to go before the population of Sioux Falls.
Okay, thank you. Now, this would be the wording that would go on the ballot? Gail or Sue? Okay. Now, my understanding is if we go ahead with this, and I have no problem with it, we will have to have another meeting to make it official.
So,
a meeting before February 1st.
okay, I guess a question, if I could. What if council would not give, if they couldn't get 5 out of the 8 to vote? Or if 5 out of the 8 said, we're only going to vote for one person, and so if the mayor doesn't appoint our person, we're not voting for them. I mean, when I look at what's happening now in D.C., the item with appointments not getting made in vacant positions, that for the city to go 4 years without legal representative would be difficult as well. So I don't know what the resolution is.
That would be the case right now. If we do not give advice and consent for any of the directors, then it goes back to the mayor, and he would have to bring either another candidate for it or convince the council that this is the person for the job. The way that this administration has handled it is that there is always plenty of time given to the council to meet with the individuals. And, it's pretty much, I don't want to call it a done deal before the actual vote, but we know who the person is. We've had the opportunity to meet with them, talk with them, ask the questions that we have. And at this point in time, this council has passed all of the directors that the mayor has appointed.
So then you would see this as changing advice and consent to a majority, more or less formalizing the advice and consent. But then the second item is that termination takes advice and consent as well.
Right, but just for the city attorney position. And again, I go back because in the charter, the city attorney is spelled out, as is the city clerk. Those are the only other 2 unelected positions that really are spelled out in the charter. And again, I go back to it strongly states that the city attorney works for the council also. And so to take away any thought that there is collusion between the city attorney and the mayor, what I see this doing is really just putting a stamp on the integrity of the office.
No bridge lane closures.
No.
Thank you.
Dick?
What bothers me about this, who is the attorney for? Look at, what if the mayor needs legal counsel, all right? And so he calls in the city attorney, they have an executive session, and lawyers can't reveal what they learned from their client, all right? But if he's working for everybody, you as a council person, couldn't the mayor go to the city attorney and says, now you're my attorney too. What did Sue want to do? What did she talk to you about?
And the mayor would be told that Sue is my client and I cannot divulge that. And that happens today on both sides. One of the things that I found what appealed to me when the mayor chose Mr. Fifley was that when we had our meeting with him, there were 3 counselors that met with him. And, you know, Dave has always said he works for the citizens of Sioux Falls. So, you know, and that is one of the other reasons that I just feel that this amendment gives, again, independence to that office, and there's no question of the integrity of the office, because they can't be fired without the agreement of the majority of the council.
Well, I wonder if the council wants to fire the city attorney.
We don't have that ability.
Well,
we'd have to go to the mayor. We'd have to go to the mayor and bring our concerns. And then again, it would be the mayor that would have to make the decision as to whether to bring it back to the council.
Well,
I believe that's the case. No.
I'm sorry, I hate to beat a dead horse here, but what happens, what if the mayor, the city council wants to remove the city attorney, and the mayor does not want to? Now what happens?
I don't believe it would come before the council. No.
So the only time, well, when does the council have the authority to act then?
When it's brought to the council for advice and consent, either for the appointment of the individual, and if this amendment were to be passed by the public, if they were only with the city attorney, if the mayor wanted within that 4-year, his term after he's been appointed, then he would have to bring it to the council, and the council by a majority would have to vote. But otherwise, and again, one of the things that I believe is a bit different from the Lincoln, Nebraska policy is that the mayor would have, if reelected to a second term, would still have the ability to change the city attorney because all of his directors are reappointed with the new term. And that does not change. So,
to me, the answer is to elect a city attorney, not to have both sides have a say. I don't know, who else does this? Is there anybody else that has this same provision?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Anybody else?
Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm not bothered by the advice and consent on the hiring, okay, but I am concerned about what happens if there's a big dispute between the council and the city attorney as far as, or between the council and the mayor. This is not clear to me, and I don't know how that would work. Let's assume the city council says, we can't get along with this guy, the mayor, the city attorney. We want him out of here.
Well, again, Mr. Gregerson, it does say in the charter that we're working with right now that the city attorney does work with the council. The council is the first part of government that's mentioned in the charter. So, I mean, I guess that I don't mean to be argumentative, but I see this as a protection for both sides, for both the mayor and for the city council.
Bob?
Again, just a clarification. City council could not initiate a termination.
Right.
But they need to approve it.
Right.
And so to me, that is where the safeguard comes in. It would seem to make sense to me. My only concern is that in our 2-year process, coming here at the very end, and about how long it would take to get the attorney's draft and explanation in a format such that we could vote on that to put it on the ballot as well.
Well, now, this is the draft.
This is the draft.
But not the explanation.
But not the explanation, right.
So we would have to have another meeting to vote, to do the supermajority vote on.
And I would remind the group that I did bring this forward earlier, but without the language itself, and thought that bringing the language forward would probably be helpful in your decision-making.
Okay. Any other?
How much notice do we have to give to have a meeting?
24 hours.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions?
I would make a motion that this be put forward for the process to be considered at our next meeting for inclusion on the ballot.
Okay, can I have a second?
We can, question. We can discuss it then
Yes.
and wonder if we, what vote is required if we don't want to move it forward?
Not have 4 votes?
Well, we're voting now to move it forward.
No, just moving it forward to the process so we can vote on it for consideration.
Yeah, so we could meet again and do the final vote on it. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any more discussion?
I have another question for Sue. You said it in the past, it created some issues. And can you just give me a broad overview of the type of issue you had without getting into detail?
I can't get into detail because I have not spoken directly to, but it was one of the reasons, this all began with me when I saw that there was money in the council budget to hire outside counsel. And I'm not sure what year that was put in the council budget, but it has been carried forward since. And I was told the reasoning that that was put there was because there was a lack of confidence that pressure was put on a city attorney in the past and made it very difficult for him and to go against what the mayor wanted. And the council determined that if this were the case, that they weren't getting equal service from the city attorney, then they needed to put money in the budget to hire outside counsel. And personally, I feel, again, that that is a show of no confidence by the council if they do that, to hire an outside attorney. And I think that that this may not take care of the entire problem, but I think that it gives protection to that office. Takes some of the politics out of it, I guess.
But the mayor would have to say the city attorney has to go. So if you're trying to protect the mayor or the city council?
I'm trying to protect the city attorney.
The city attorney.
I want to keep that office independent and no question as to the integrity of that office.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Questions?
I'm sorry, I can see the wheels turning. And maybe if you put a little what if together, what if being, let's just say, and I don't know whether this is right or wrong, whether the current mayor said to Mr. Fifley, I don't like that amendment that Sue is bringing to this board. And he said, now, again, I'm not saying this isn't happening, but let me give you a scenario. Don't do it, delay it, try to find some way to stop that from coming to you guys. And in his working, our city attorney said, I can't do that because I work for the city also, I work for the council equally as I do for the mayor and for the rest of the city and the city employees. So he or she at that point goes ahead with that and brings it to them. And then the mayor, whoever that might be, says, you didn't do what I told you to do, you're done. Does that paint a scenario for you that could possibly happen? I mean, on something as simple as this, or not, or something even with more magnitude that could happen, where the mayor is on one side, the council was on the other, and the mayor is the only one, even though they're supposed to be working for both, the mayor is the only one who can say you're done. It would put where would you go if you knew that was the situation and you were the city attorney? Okay, does that help?
My question, wonder if the mayor wants to have a council, all right?
What mayor wants to do what, Dick?
He wants to confer with the city attorney. Now, if you were mayor, would you like to confer with, if you're having a dispute with the council, would you like to talk to the attorney who's also representing the council?
I understand that, and that's exactly the reason that this needs to be in there, so that the city attorney can say, you're not my boss, they're not my total boss, you're kind of both situations where their bosses are equal, because I serve both. Now, I don't know that I don't like your situation of electing him, but go ahead.
But I think if we wanted to change that, then we'd go back to the other one and say that there's going to be an attorney, that council will have representation and the mayor will have representation, whatever. But the way it is structured is right now we're saying that person serves both.
Serves both, and that's
all it's doing is the language here seems to make it such that that's going to be a more workable solution with that.
I think that's a good way to put it. It gives a little more solidarity, whatever you want to call it, to the position, independence.
As to what we can do to get at least 4 of us together again between now and the end of January.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, here's what bothers me, too. I mean, on the federal level. Now, it doesn't bother me the council has the right to advise and consent on the appointment. But what if the president could not, he's not satisfied with the attorney general, but the Congress says you can't remove him unless we approve it. I just think I want to do some research, because I just think this is going to cause problems.
That will be a good topic for our next meeting. Give us some time to think through this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. You have the wording of his motion?
Well, the motion was just to move this forward to the next meeting for further discussion and consideration of placing this on the ballot.
Okay, and it's been seconded. Is there any other discussion or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And we need to set up a meeting.
Can we have just one other among us, just for the sake of being able to discuss this topic next time? It says here, the consent of a majority of the council is not required for the expiration of legal officer's term of office that occurs upon the mayor's expiration. The way I read that, that means then that the only time that the council doesn't become involved is when the mayor's office expires, or the mayor's expiration of term of office. That must assume then that if it doesn't occur at that time, then the council has to also approve the removal of the city attorney.
No, it's not required for the expiration of the term.
So the consent of the majority of the council is not required if it's at the end of the mayor's term of office.
That's correct.
Doesn't that
That's how it's
assume that
written.
if it's not at the end of the mayor's term of office, and the city council, even if the mayor wants to get rid of the person he appointed, they have to approve that removal.
If the mayor wants to remove the city attorney during his 4-year term of office, that would require council majority approval. But if the mayor's term is expiring at the end of 4 years, then the city attorney's term expires as well. And that would happen without council approval. It would not go to the council then. So it's only the removal during the 4-year term of the mayor that the council gets a vote in it.
Well,
And I phrased it that way because that was the direction that's what Councilor Aguilar wanted.
It's only for, the only consent for a termination during the term, not at the end of the term.
Correct.
And a termination originated by the mayor, not originated by the attorney. If the attorney wanted to resign, they could.
He or she, yep.
So what do calendars look like between now and the end of January?
How does the 23rd look? That's a Thursday. You usually like to meet on Thursdays. We have the 23rd of January.
That works for me.
That would give the city
23rd.
attorney a little bit of time to.
Okay, I might have misunderstood the question. Just the previous question, were you asking how does it work now, or word the amendment?
Amendment.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
So would that be 3:30 on the 23rd or 4?
3:30, we usually
3:30,
meet.
okay.
Try to be consistent, so 3:30 on the 23rd. Does that work for at least 4 of you?
Dennis and Dick, is that
what date?
2 weeks from today? 23rd?
Yeah,
I'm okay on the 23rd if we do it at 3:30.
3:30?
Okay, and the last item,
What time did you meet?
3:30.
is the draft report. Now, we'll need a different draft report, correct?
Right. I think she went to get Dave and bring him back in, but you're correct. We probably would want to wait on that until after the next meeting and have that be an agenda item as well.
Okay, Dave, we're on to the new business, the draft report, and that we'll need to review in 2 weeks, correct?
Okay.
I would move that we defer action until our next meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, is there any other new business? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.